Collider movie talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is The Daily Show. We give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today, Kristian Harloff.
Very nice to see everybody here on Collider Movie Talk. Happy to talk about the news.
Also here, John Schnepp.
Hey, what's up? It's Monday. Super excited. Totally excited. Too much excitement.
Also here, Dennis Zen.
Yes, and we have a lot of things going on this week. Obviously, Captain America Civil War is coming out on Friday, so we have the spoilers review for that. If you haven't seen, our non-spoilers review is already up. And then also we have our commentary. Our Winter Soldier commentary is coming today, I think at 2 o'clock, so be on the lookout for that. What else do we got? We had the interview with the Russo brothers. That's been up for a while. Game of Thrones last night, big episode. We did it, me, Makuga, and Wendy did a review. Check that out. Also, TV Talk later today, talking more Game of Thrones, and also Punisher, the Netflix series.
All right. Well, it's Monday, which means it's time for the weekend box office report brought to you by our friends at AMC Theatres. Disney wins the box office battle again with a dominating third-week performance by The Jungle Book. The live-action adaptation took in $42.4 million for an easy win at the #1 spot, with $252 million domestic, well on its way to becoming 2016's fourth $300 million-plus domestic grosser. In a battle for the #2 spot, The Huntsman: Winter's War and the weekend's top newcomer Keanu were practically neck and neck. Huntsman took in $9,390,000 for the #2 spot, with Keanu taking in $9,350,000 for the #3 spot. The other wide release, Mother's Day, took the #4 spot with $8.3 million, and at #5, Barber Shop, the next cut, took in $6.1 million. Kristian, thoughts on the weekend's box office?
Well, the first thought is the only people who saw Ratchet and Clank were the people who made Ratchet and Clank. I mean, that's nowhere to be found, that movie. So, you know, it's just one of those things that it was as we thought. That movie, some people knew about the game, and even they didn't go out and see it, and it just didn't hit. Even though I didn't love Keanu as much as you guys did, I still think it should have done a little better than it did. Happy to see The Jungle Book still making money. But yeah, and I am actually really happy, and I hate this. I don't ever want to wish anybody to do bad, but it looks like people caught on to the smell of Mother's Day and said, we're good. We'll watch it on TV or maybe never. So those were the ones that kind of stood out, but it's Jungle Book. I mean, it seemed to me that that's the quality. That's what people are going to see. Huntsman is still a curiosity on week 2. So these actually make sense for the most part. I just would have liked to see Keanu do a little better. Dennis?
Yeah, none of us actually got our box office predictions correct because none of us had Huntsman at #2. We all had, I think, Keanu at #2 and maybe Mother's Day at #3. Jungle Book, yeah, Disney's just knocking it out of the park. They're going to hand off their #1 spot, which they've had for the last 3 weeks, to themselves with Civil War this weekend. And Civil War opened in a lot of places internationally, making tons and tons of money. Mother's Day. Yeah, I'm glad to. I mean,
isn't it weird? It's like you don't want to wish anybody bad, but it's just like, thank goodness people are being smart.
Especially, did you see that one thing about Julia Roberts making like $3 million for her 4 days of shooting? That was like the rumored report. It's
Makes sense.
It's crazy.
It makes sense though for that movie. That's how you get her to do it.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like anyone they're just showing up, collecting a paycheck, and then
Gary Marshall probably cut that from his own pocketbook to get it. Schnepp, what do you
Hey
think?
man, I cannot wait for Father's Day. There's gonna be a whole bunch of them. I'll just buy the box set on my deathbed and watch them as I slowly exit this planet. The thing that really is a curiosity for me is The Huntsman. Because not a lot of people dug it, and then I think the reason it's #2 and the reason it beat Keanu is because people still think it's like a sequel to Frozen. That's why I think it's just like this kind of weird, just the posters, everything about it. It just feels like, it's like a live action Frozen. So it somehow tricked people to not go see the cat movie. That's my only Ratchet and Clank. I think it's also, you look at Ratchet and Clank, and another one of the things that's changed over animated films over the last 10 years is the voiceover cast and the voiceover talent. And Ratchet and Clank is a real telling example, is if you don't get like A-list voiceover talent, because that's mom and dad are the ones that take the kids to see animated movies. So mom and dad are the ones that you're trying to entice with the voiceover talent. And if you have people who are like 15, 20 years out of prime time as far as A-listers, they're still all A-listers, but they're just not in the current movies. That's what the Ratchet and Clank voiceovers. It's a list that's a little bit not super A-list of now. So I think it ended up like making a lot of parents be like, well, what's this? It felt like it's out of time.
Right.
So it's something to be painfully aware of, unfortunately.
I was hoping Keanu would do better. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. It wasn't it's not going to be my favorite comedy of the year, but I enjoyed it enough where I thought maybe more people would have seen it. But I think a lot of people saw maybe the trailers and were just like, oh, this looks stupid or whatever. You have to buy into that Key and Peele humor.
Yeah, I agree. And I would have liked it to done better. Like I said, I think that everybody enjoyed it a little bit more than I did, but I still really enjoy those guys. And I want to see them do well because I want to see more movies from them because the moments that really hit in that movie hit, and I want to see more of that from them. So I hope this doesn't discourage people from making movies with them. It's not a huge bomb. I mean, it's not,
I don't think it will.
Also, the movie only cost $15 million
Yeah,
to
so that's
make.
still- yeah, they'll still be doing
10
stuff.
million this weekend. If they get another 5,
Yeah.
they'll make some.
It'll
money.
make 10 million next weekend.
Yeah.
It's gonna look at the poster. It's already saying it's Civil War. It's just gonna get that peel off where people are like, Civil War sold out. Well, let's watch the Cat Civil War version of it or whatever. I didn't even see Keanu yet. I was so busy this weekend. It was on my. I'm seeing it this weekend. So I'm gonna have to see it next weekend. I think a lot of people are gonna end up seeing it. So.
All right, Ashley, what's next?
According to The Hollywood Reporter, the Flash director Seth Grahame-Smith is leaving the project due to creative differences. Grahame-Smith, screenwriter of Dark Shadows and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, was supposed to make his directorial debut, but will now only be credited as screenwriter, having penned a draft of the movie based on a treatment by Lego movie directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller. This story had a ripple effect on the industry, with many sites reporting after that Aquaman director James Wan was also rumored to be having problems with the WB execs. To set the record straight, Wan took to Twitter, tweeting out a picture of himself in front of a picture of Aquaman, seemingly confirming he is still hard at work on the project. The Flash has a release date set for March 16, 2018, with Aquaman set for July 27, 2018. Schnepp, what do you think about all this DC movie news?
Man, all these shakeups. Well, it just happens all the time. I mean, a lot of people online were like pointing to look, Thor: The Dark World lost its director, Ant-Man lost its director for Marvel. So it's not really that big of a deal, to be honest with you. It's like, I just think things happened. The guy who wrote Dark Shadows and Lincoln Vampire Hunter isn't making his directorial debut with The Flash. He's going to have to wait and do it for something else. And a lot of people were relieved. Some people were upset. It's not that big of a deal. James Wan leaving Aquaman would be a big deal, so I'm glad that's not happening. Him just posting that tweet of him leaning up against an Aquaman image is a pretty cool way to tell everybody to chill out. So I think that's how rumors start. Then everyone's leaving, what's happening? And everyone's freaking out. There's nothing really to freak out about unless you're on this Dark Shadows, Lincoln Vampire Hunter guy's tip. You're I can't wait to see what he's going to direct. Then you might be bummed. But otherwise, it's just this is normal.
I'm kind of torn on this because some of that I agree with. I'm okay with this guy leaving. Not that he can't eventually make a good movie, or because he's never directed anything before, but I didn't like anything that he's written so far. I don't know if you want to trust Flash to him when you have to really get that, because regardless of whether or not you loved Batman v Superman or you loved Man of Steel, I think that you can agree that not everyone, they got that big kind of 98% movie in the DC cinematic universe where they're yeah, that's what. I don't know if that's the guy that's going to be able to do that. I know we have other movies that are happening before that, but I think that you've got to take a page out of other companies and say, okay, look, let's go after top tier directors that are going to knock people's blocks off here. Let's do it. I just became from the 1930s. I'm gonna knock your block off, Sonny. But just really kick the crap out of people with these choices. I do think, though, it would have been a big deal if Wan, because in this article it also says that Snyder, Warner, and this is rumor, that Warner Brothers was kind of scrambling after the reactions from critics and some fans for Batman v Superman, that they were like, we can't announce Snyder leaving Justice League because then it's going to hurt box office. So what do we do? And then Snyder was able to just kind of get in there.
They were kind of screwed on that one.
Because he had to go and shoot because it was scheduled
2 weeks after.
That's their own fault.
Yeah.
That's their own fault for scheduling Justice League without seeing kind of the reaction it got first. But if they would have lost this guy, even if I'm not wanting him to direct other people, it's still, you're losing people. It still shows something. It does happen all the time, but it's still, as far as PR goes.
If James Wan next week says he's leaving Aquaman, there's a big problem.
Yeah. Dennis, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I agree with what just Schnepp just said. If one leaves, then it's more indicative of a problem. Him leaving, we had Michelle McLaren leaving, Wonder Woman. Okay, we can live that. I mean, the Flash project there's nothing going to happen. It doesn't come out until 2018, so they've got plenty of time to find another director. So I'm not worried about the Flash, but if rumors are true in terms of, let's say Zack Snyder is at odds over Justice League with Warner Brothers, and let's say James Wan leaves, then that becomes a problem. It's like that saying, they say, like, if you're the guy in the room that thinks everyone's an a-hole, most likely you're probably the a-hole, right? So it's one of those situations. So hopefully James Wan stays on. We get an awesome Aquaman movie. Hopefully Wonder Woman turns out well, and then it will alleviate a lot of the concerns. We just, right now everyone's a little nervous and apprehensive about what's going on with DC.
There's so much unfair pressure on Suicide Squad right now.
Yeah.
There really is. We kind of knew it was going to happen, but there's so much pressure on that movie. Okay, what's next?
We learned back in February that the Ready Player One movie, directed by Steven Spielberg, found its Wade Watts and X-Men Apocalypse actor Tye Sheridan. He has since been joined by Ben Mendelsohn, Mark Rylance, Simon Pegg, and Olivia Cook. Speaking with Collider's own Christina Radish about his other upcoming movie, Last Days in the Desert, Sheridan shared what it was like to audition for Spielberg, saying, I was in a room with Mr. Spielberg. He was holding the camera in the audition, and he shot it from 3 different angles. He did a frontal 2 shot at the dude.
I wonder who's the most immature on this table.
Where was this person on Thursday night?
On the table of pretty immature people. We've got one that's the most immature.
Okay. He did a frontal 2 shot and then 2 side angles. Whoops. We did maybe 2 takes of each setup, and that was it. I thought, geez, I don't know how I did. Maybe there weren't enough takes. I could have done better. About a month later, I got a call. It was my agents, and they said, damn it, you're going to be working with Steven Spielberg this summer. When asked about the story of Ready Player One, Sheridan responded, can you guys stop laughing? What's great about the book and about the story is that it's such a strong and honest depiction of what is to come, not only in entertainment, but for our future. I think there will be a different plane of existence that is a virtual realm, and I think this movie is the keynote to portraying that in entertainment. Potentially, it's a huge milestone for virtual reality in cinema. Dennis, what are your thoughts on Sheridan's comments about Spielberg?
So what are my comments about his 2 frontal shots?
Oh my gosh.
Now, this was interesting because, Spielberg was there in the audition with him. He's holding the camera, and not only is he, because most of the time auditions, you're in there with a casting director, a big group of people. The director usually is not there.
Camera's farther away and just already recording.
It's on a tripod.
Yeah, it's on a
It's a
tripod.
wide shot or maybe a medium shot. And then here's Spielberg taking the camera off, getting 2 different angles.
Getting a full frontal and then
full
2 additional side angles.
Yes. And so that's the thing that stuck out to me. I think that's really cool that he's that involved and he's making the movie during the audition process, which was fantastic.
Super cool to hear all that, but it should also, I think, still some confidence in Tye Sheridan that Spielberg wanted to be there for his audition,
most definitely.
And the fact that he's there to be there, because we have heard the buzz from this kid, from the second, whether it's Mud or Joe, whatever it is, for that he has been in. There's something about him. He's got it. He's got that thing. So Spielberg to be in there, and I'm sure that as an actor, as a performer, there's 2 ways to look at it. The one is the holy shit, that's Steven Spielberg, or it's Spielberg's here. I'm going to knock it out of the park. And I feel that obviously you got the role. That's the Tye Sheridan that was in the room,
definitely,
and because he puts you on your A game. Yeah. So I think it's great to hear these comments. I love that he was able to say that, and just the fact, I wish I was in the room to just not just to see Spielberg setting up the shots and all that stuff. So I loved it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it just shows you how still in the game Steven Spielberg is. So how much he cares that he's going to be there to actually camera operate and get shots that he wants, so that he can go back, have an editor cut it together really quickly, and see how the kid actually feels in an edited sequence. So that's super important, and it's really great. I'm sure when they come out with a Blu-ray, they might add these things that we're hearing about now. That might be in the deleted scenes, like the audition tapes or something like that Spielberg himself actually shot. I think it's awesome.
It'd be cool if they show those for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Do you guys think that maybe Tye Sheridan could be Spielberg's next golden boy? For a while he tried to make Shia LaBeouf his next golden boy, and Shia LaBeouf is extremely talented actor, but then he kind of went off the rails on his outside of on-screen stuff. So
Also,
Spielberg kind of like went away from him.
He said a lot of ugly things.
He took
in
shots
the
at
press.
Spielberg,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you don't do that kind of stuff.
Do I think? I mean, let's see how the movie comes out. But sure, why not? I mean, it would be great. I mean, you see what he's doing. I want to see what he's doing with Apocalypse and where he's. I think the kid's going to have a pretty great career. Because my thing with him, because he did Joe and Mud, I was just worried he's going to be stuck in that kind of. Because I didn't know if that was his accent that he was just. That's all he could do. But clearly, that's not the case. So we'll see a lot more of him. Okay, what's next?
According to a report from The Hollywood Reporter, Fox's The Maze Runner: The Death Cure has shut down production for the foreseeable future because of star Dylan O'Brien's injuries sustained in an accident on set. Though many reports at first stated his injuries were not that serious, THR states they are actually more severe than initially reported, with their sources saying that on March 18th, O'Brien was in a harness on top of a moving vehicle when he was pulled off the vehicle unexpectedly and hit by another vehicle. A report from WorkSafe BC described his injuries as including a concussion, facial fracture, and lacerations. The Fox project was slated for release on February 17, 2017, but sources believe the date will move in order to let O'Brien recover. Kristian, thoughts on Maze Runner being delayed?
You have to. I mean, you got to let the kid recover. I mean, when we heard about it, and initially it was like, oh, that sounds serious, and they kind of tried to play it off a little bit, but then you hear more of the reports come out. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, young kid trying to do his own stunts probably shouldn't have.
Right.
But it's you got to delay it. And I've been kind of vocal on the YA movies have just been kind of getting repetitive, and even the Maze Runner, the last one, is just kind of. But you'd like to see this franchise play out. A story's been told. There is an audience for it. And this kid, another guy, for a long time we thought he was going to be Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he's another guy that I think, I don't think he's as talented as Tye Sheridan, but I think he's pretty talented. We're going to see a lot of him coming the next couple of years. So yeah, this is a very unfortunate incident that happened to him, but I think it makes sense. It's respectful to the guy. You got to let him recover. You don't push it and get yourself in any trouble.
Totally. Well, I mean, when we first heard about it, it felt a little bit like when Harrison Ford got injured and Star Wars had to stop production for a little bit. They were like, we'll shoot around, we'll shoot other scenes, we'll keep the production going forward, then we'll go into a little bit of a hiatus. But unfortunately, it seems like this guy's injuries are far more severe than originally supported. Now we're hearing that he actually got run over, and we wish him the best and the fastest recovery. That's the most important thing, and then worry about a movie later. So I think the studio's doing the right thing. Is like, look, let's not keep everybody stuck around on pins and needles, and let's just pull the film for right now. Let the kid get better until he's fully better, and then start the film up again.
Yeah, and I think that, like your example with Harrison Ford, the luxury that they had there was to do some rewrites and say, okay, look, we can shoot all his scenes later. Let's focus on Daisy Ridley. Let's focus, as where this kid is, he's the main guy.
Yeah.
So, Dennis, what
it makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, not only the physical recovery of Dylan O'Brien, the mental recovery. I mean, is he going to be mentally ready to go back into a film where, look, obviously they're going to put stunt actors in everything now for him, but even just being there, just in that environment, and maybe even some of the non-dangerous stunts that he would have to do, how is that going to affect him? They're going to have to, I mean, with delays, that means the cast and the crew, the scheduling of them is going to have to change. It's all a mess. So they wouldn't do this if it wasn't absolutely necessary. It seems absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, it's time for Buy or Sell. The giggling host will give you some more topics in the world of movie news, and myself, Dennis, and Schnepp will simply buy or sell it. Giggies?
Although rumors suggest there is trouble behind the scenes at Warner Brothers with their DC-connected universe movies, their ace in the hole, a standalone Batman movie written by Jeff Johns and Ben Affleck with Affleck directing, seems to be taking shape in an interesting way. In a new report posted by Devin Faraci at Birth Movies Death, Affleck and Johns are apparently utilizing a number of classic Batman villains to appear in the film, with many, if not most, members of Batman's Rogues Gallery making an appearance in the movie. Faraci's sources are claiming Affleck and Johns want to make a definitive Batman film, including the most iconic Batman villains in the movie. The report doesn't name any of the villains at this time, but speculations that villains villains such as the Joker, Penguin, and the Riddler are perfect for the movie. The standalone Batman movie is currently without a release date. Schnepp buy or sell lots of villains in Affleck's Batman movie.
I buy Egghead, I buy King Tut, I buy all of the weirdo villains that they created for the 1960s Adam West Batman to not appear in this. What I do want to see is I would love to see this newer version, the Jared Leto's Joker. I would love to see what Ben Affleck would like to see as Riddler or the Penguin or Scarecrow, any of those characters. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with this new The Batman film that Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns are doing. They've got full creative control over it. All that news bodes really well for an amazing Batman film. We've talked about how big a Batman fan that Ben Affleck is. So to see what he's going to do, I cannot wait.
Dennis?
Well, for me, I'm going to sell it if it's anything more than cameos, right?
Yeah.
Like if they have Batman go to Arkham Asylum and they see a bunch of the other villains there and Joker's the main one, then fine, I'm okay with it. But if it's going to be like, oh, it's the Joker and the Riddler and the Penguin and all those, they're all part of the plot, then I'm going to have to sell it. And also, I also don't want a repeat of Batman v Superman where Batman opens up his computer desktop and like clicks on some folder icons. Oh, look, there's the Riddler. There's this guy. There's that guy. I'm not all for that. But what it does mean, though, is that means they have to cast all these people, which means we're going to know ahead of time, okay, who's going to be the big actor that may be playing the Penguin or the Riddler or anything like that. So, yeah, I personally would rather one villain, and if they want to do little cameos of other ones, fine, but just stick with one villain.
I agree with you, but I am going to buy this because I'm going to have hope that I'm buying it because I think that it's going to set up each villain for the trilogy. And I like the idea of having these two guys writing this movie and having Affleck direct it with a clear vision of where they want to go with all this. And it's not just, hey, here are all your villains.
Right.
It doesn't seem like Affleck does that in any of his movies. And I hope that he's not being pressured. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to let the studio bully him into doing that. So I'm okay with them putting the villains in if they are indeed, like you said, Dennis, like setting it up. But they're smaller cameos, but it's still in a way that these are going to be problems for Batman.
Right.
Or these are going to be the ones that we're going to see going forward in his series of Batman movies.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to mention, I buy this a whole 100%. I don't think they're going to cram like Batman and Robin or like 30, 40 villains in just to have them in there. I don't think they're going to do an Arkham Asylum thing either, like just a walk by. I think they'll probably figure out a really nice way to introduce the Joker, but he won't be the Joker yet. Because my personal feeling is they're going to do it. They're going to do a prequel. They're not going to start out with Batman already branding people and all that stuff. They're going to go back maybe 10 years. You're going to see a little bit of Batman. Maybe started off with him already on something, and that takes care of one of the villains. Maybe takes out the Penguin right in the beginning, the pre-credits. Then you introduce the Riddler as the main character. Get Leonardo DiCaprio, and then you introduce Jared Leto as a thug. He's pre-Joker. I mean, that way instantly you have three villains, and it's not a problem. So there's an easy way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
Speaking at a press junket to promote his latest movie, Last Days in the Desert, Ewan McGregor set the record straight about the latest comments he made about a rumored standalone Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Collider's own Christina Radish asked if McGregor had heard anything from Lucasfilm after his spin-off comments, to which he replied, "If they asked me to, I would be happy to, but it looks like I'm campaigning for it just because I get asked about it all the time. So I would like it to be known that I don't bring it up at these interviews of my own free will. I only respond to questions I'm asked to. I don't know anything about it. They've never approached me about it." Dennis, buy or sell McGregor's comments about an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone?
Yeah, I buy it. I mean, he's not trying to hide anything. He's just stating the facts. I mean, people are going to ask him about it, just like people are going to ask other people about other projects. And he's just the type, I think he likes to be honest with people. So he just tells what he feels. He would be open to it, but he hasn't been approached by Disney and all. And I think that's where he doesn't want to look like he's like some desperate actor trying to like, oh no, we need to make these movies because I want to be starring in these films. He's just saying, hey, I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's like Sean Young when she campaigned for Catwoman.
That did wonders for her.
It
right?
did really
That's
great.
right.
No, see, I definitely buy his comments, and I can actually see him having that conversation that you just explained with like his PR people and agent man. You got to stop talking about it. If people ask me, I'm going to be honest with them. I can see it and I do think that there have been conversations because he even in Frosty's interview, he kind of made hints that there were indeed conversations that happen, but he's not the one going, hey guys, if you tell him that you want an Obi-Wan movie with me in it, he's not doing that. But if someone asks him about it, yeah, he has made it very clear. He wants to play Obi-Wan again.
Yeah.
He wants to be in the movies again. He wants to do a standalone. The trilogy thing had come up about 2 years ago when they first rumored the standalone films, and that was one, that Obi-Wan trilogy. It's been floating around Lucas for a while, I think, and he probably caught wind of it as well because he mentioned the trilogy. But yeah, I totally buy his comments. Anytime someone asks him about it, he's going to talk about it. I'm sure he's getting sick of it at this point too, because the fans want to see it. We're going to get an announcement of a standalone film, I think, at Star Wars Celebration, a new one. Now, whether or not it's Obi-Wan or it's some bounty hunter movie or whatever it might be, it's going to be announced. I hope it's Obi-Wan. Schnepp, what do you think about these comments? Buy or sell?
I buy them. I think, I'm excited that the Obi-Wan himself is shooting Train Spotting 2 right now as we speak.
Right.
That's exciting to me. I love Train Spotting. And I thought he was a great Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm positive that they will do an Obi-Wan Star Wars story 1, not 3. They're just going to do a one-shot, just like they're doing Han Solo. They're eventually going to do that Boba Fett movie that got, shelved.
Do you think so?
Yeah, for sure. Why? Because Boba Fett is a giant draw. He's a character who had like 3 lines of dialogue and died getting ingested in a Sarlacc pit. Maybe. We don't know.
Right.
But everybody loves him, including me. And, I'd love to see a story that goes deeper into what, where did the Mandalorian, armor come from? I know they cover a lot of that in the Star Wars canon books and comics, but I would like to see a filmed version of that. So I'm still holding out for a Boba Fett film. But I'm sure there'll be an Obi-Wan film with him as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, Ashley, what's next?
From a report in Deadline, producer Mark Platt has announced partnering with video game maker Sega to develop and produce a feature film based on its own video game franchise, Shinobi. He and his production company will work with Sega's production arm in a joint venture on the property. Shinobi is a property well known among gamers, with Shinobi meaning ninja in Japanese, originally beginning as an arcade game. No other plot details are available, and a release date has yet to be determined. Kristian, buy or sell a Shinobi video game adaptation?
Sega. Yeah, it's hard. I'm gonna buy it, but I'm buying it because I know what it is. I can guarantee you that I think that Obi-Wan likes it too. I can guarantee you that a lot of you guys are probably like, what in the hell is Shinobi? I'm very curious, actually, in the comment section right now. How many of you guys are aware of Shinobi? And are you aware because you're a hardcore gamer and you just know the history of it, or did you play it? But the reason I'm buying it is because I think that you'd be able to make a story out of it without relying on the video game audience. Because it's not like Warcraft, to where with Warcraft, you're going to get a lot of that gaming audience that is familiar with the game playing. This is not going to get that audience. You have to make a kick-ass movie in order to get people in that theater. You've got to make something that looks like, wait a minute, this looks like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like, oh my God, this is incredible, the way that this movie looks and feels, and the stars and the director. That's how you're going to have to make this. You can't do a Hitman style on this, because then it goes right to the toilet like Hitman.
Yeah, I'm selling it just because I don't think they're going to have the money to make it in the way that you're talking about. I mean, I was a big Sega fanboy, Sega Genesis, Shinobi. I don't know if a lot of people today recognize what that was even a game. I mean, there was an even bigger game in the same genre, which was Ninja Gaiden.
Right.
And even that's not even big enough to make a movie out of. It's not like a Mario Brothers, a Mega Man, or something like that. Also, they were talking about other Sega properties like Golden Axe, Altered Beast.
Right. Those are better ones.
Crazy Taxi, Virtual Fighter. They're talking about TV series, digital series, movies. I'd love to see Altered Beast movie.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool.
I want to see a Crazy Taxi TV show. Shinobi, I think they just go with the word, the name, because it means ninja. You don't have to base it on anything from the game. The game was like, the one I remember is a side-scrolling, you're just shooting shurikens at people. It's like, there's not really that, you're fighting a big boss at every end of every level.
Right.
So the story is very loose and, kind of simple. So you don't have to base it on anything. You just go and have fun, make a kick-ass B movie is what I would say. Get a bunch of really cool stunt choreographers, do some crazy action. That's what if I'm going to go see a movie called Shinobi, I want ninja crazy madness. That's what I want. I'm expecting to see that. I want to see body parts getting cut up. I want to see blood. I want to see action, crazy acrobatics. I really don't care about the story if I'm going to see Shinobi. So that's, make a good B movie is all I'd say.
Okay, so before we get to mailbag, where you guys have submitted over to collidervideo@gmail.com, we are going to be taking live Twitter questions, and Ashley Mobile will be getting those questions from you guys. Make sure that you tweet at Collider Video, ask anything you want as far as movies behind the scenes. Go ahead, and she will pick them out. But first, it is mailbag. Ashley, what's first?
David Deering writes, "Hey, all, love the show. I've heard you guys mention numerous times about January and late August/early September being the toilet bowl where studios avoid putting promising movies out in theaters. As a novice when it comes to the movie industry, my question is, why would you keep a potentially good film from releasing during those times? If it's a good film, wouldn't it be better to put it out against little to no competition? Thanks for taking my question."
Dennis?
I think studios are starting to. I mean, we saw Kung Fu Panda. They released that in January. Well, I didn't love the movie. It was decent and made a good amount of money. So they didn't dump it there because they thought it was bad. They thought they could take an opportunity, and they did.
Right.
So I think studios will do that. But overall, most studios don't want to release movies when they know people aren't going to watch them, because at the end of August and early September, a lot of parents are dealing with their kids going back to school, whether it's, elementary school or junior high school, or even college. And then January, everyone has already had that vacation with like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, where work was kind of slow. And then January, that's when everything starts picking back up again. No one's thinking about going to the movies. They have to get their mindset back into work. So those are the reasons why people don't go to the movies around those times.
Yeah, we talked about it on Mailbag this weekend as well too, and I think that January is definitely where you're going to see a little bit of a change, like you mentioned with Kung Fu Panda, and a lot of times they put the low-budget horror film in there, and because you're going to get a lot of profit, even if a movie makes like $12 million opening weekend and it only costs $70 million to make, you see profit there, and that's why a lot of those release. But the other thing is, and we mentioned this again on Mailbag, marketing. There are marketing budgets throughout the year, and summer movies get a lot of that marketing. And then you got the Oscar season, which if they have the movies in their slate, they're going to promote it. So, and you made the point, Dennis, the other day, which I agree with you, the end of August and like the first week or two in September, that's like the new toilet bowl, because that's when you see nothing coming out, because that's when all the money kind of that's not that good, put that there, and you won't see a big marketing push on it. You won't see it come in that many theaters. That's why, because they shoot. Everybody makes these movies to try to make money, but whether it be through production or whatever, they say, this movie isn't turning out the way we want it. Let's release it in January. Let's release it in September. Let's put this amount of money in it. So that's usually what happens.
Well, remember, this is all fiscal quarterlies. Is one of the other things to remember is like dumping something at the end of August is also the end of the third quarter, where you can like claim massive, like, we lost all this money in the third quarter, and look at all the gains we got in January, or technically September, if you have a good September opening. So I think, opening something in January could also be done now as counter programming, where it used to not happen. You'll introduce something like perhaps in December, where it's mainly all the Oscar movies, but then you'll introduce a horror film, in the beginning of December, because everyone's going to see Oscar films and family films. Then you at least counter program a little bit and like get the money for that one film that no one was going to see, but they're going to see it then. So I think it makes sense.
Okay, what's next?
Predator XZX writes, "I'm a huge fan of the Terminator franchise. Do you think there is a chance to redeem the franchise, and how do you think they could do it? Thanks."
I do think there's a way to redeem it, because remember, James Cameron gets the rights back, but he's going to be tied up with Avatar sequels until probably the day he dies. So I don't know if I would love to see him direct another one.
Right.
I think he's the one that could bring some life back into it, because he's the one that brought it to us in the first place.
Sure.
I think he'll have a clear-cut vision of how they want to do it. I think that there are ways, and there are filmmakers that could absolutely do it. I'd like to see John Hillcoat's version of a Terminator movie. I'd like to see I think you and I brought this up on the show before. You got to scale it back.
Yeah.
You got to scale it back and bring it back. I love Judgment Day, but to me, the first Terminator is still the best. It's had that horror film element to it, but it's still that horror sci-fi, but a real story, real motivations for characters. That's what they need to get back to. They were so brought into making this the big budget popcorn movie, and it lost the love of what Terminator was all about.
Totally.
I think that there's a way to do that. It's just the right script and the right filmmaker, because there are stories to be told there, but we're so beaten over the head with all the bad ones now. There's more bad than good, so it's going to be tough.
And unfortunately, people didn't watch the TV show, which is excellent.
Yeah,
The Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, starring Lena Headey, who plays Cersei on Game of Thrones. That was kind of a throwback to that old, like, okay, here's Sarah Connor trying to protect her son, John Connor. They kind of went away from that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. They should go back to the basics where the story is more streamlined. I thought, while I didn't hate Genesis, I know why a lot of people did and why there was a lot of problems with it. It was convoluted. They tried to make a big thing, a big spectacle out of it. Didn't quite work. I think they should go, but I still like Terminator 2 more than Terminator 1, though. I think it's one of the best action movies ever made. So I wouldn't mind James Cameron doing something like that again, but like you said, he's doing Avatar for the next, 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah, right outside of just having James Cameron redo the Terminator and just do a brand new version, the same story but with new actors, I would love to see someone just take a totally different spin. And we talked about this on a movie talk like many months ago about like going low budget, get it, a young cast, a young crew, and take a real chance, reimagine all of it. I think it needs a Planet of the Apes kind of reimagining, like what they do with the new Planet of the Apes, like just from the get, just everything redone. I don't want to see the old. I don't want to see an endoskeleton the way it looks now. A T800 should have a brand new design. That's the way to re-energize it. Go with a really low budget, but those flash forwards to the future, make the hunter killers look different. I just think it needs that, or you need James Cameron. It needs one of the two things if you're going to do yet another sequel, and it doesn't need Arnold. I think they've tried it with Arnold. 3 was okay. I mean, 1 and 2 are the ones. That's it for me. 3 was okay. 4, 5, come on. So we don't need Arnold anymore. He is the Terminator of those films. If you're going to refresh it, rebrand it, create something new with 1 or 2 years left that you have before Cameron gets it back, that's what I would do. Whatever the company that owns it. I think it's Annapurna or however you say it.
Annapurna.
Yeah, Annapurna. That's what they should do. Take $10 million, get a really great a young director, a brand new cast, and redo it from scratch. And don't use any hey, it's another Earth. That would be my suggestion.
Well, how about you guys? Do you think that the Terminator franchise at all can be saved? Does Cameron need to do it? Do you like Schnepp's idea? Comment and tell us what you think, and how would you save the Terminator franchise? All right, Ashley, what is happening in the Twitter world?
John Forsyth writes, buy or sell a Space Jam sequel.
Well, they're making a Space Jam sequel. We just learned that Justin Lin is directing it, and LeBron James is going to be the star instead of Michael Jordan. I mean, I know people are asking about this in the chat room. People are tweeting us. How come you're not talking about this? It just broke right before we went to set, and we figured people were going to ask about it in live Twitter questions anyway.
It broke the sidebar.
Yeah. The sidebar. If you're watching live, you'll notice the sidebar isn't working. Something's going wrong with the switcher. Anyways, I personally have no affection for the first Space Jam, so for me, like them doing a second one, I don't really care. But if you guys love it and they're making one, cool.
I would like to see a second Space Jam because I want to see what they're going to... I buy it. I want to see what they're going to do and who they're going to use. Someone said it, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name who said it, but I actually would prefer to see Steph Curry instead of LeBron. I think LeBron was really good in Trainwreck, and I thought he's got a lot of charisma too, but I think Steph Curry also has a lot of charisma, and I'd like to see what he'd be able to do in this movie. I'm interested, and I know that I speak for Ellis. Ellis is probably losing his mind right now at this news because he's a big Space Jam guy, and I think they could have some fun with it. The technology is a lot different from when Jordan did it, so it almost had like it could have like a Roger Rabbit feel. So
the only thing I remember from Space Jam though was the damn R. Kelly song.
Oh,
yes. I Believe I Can Fly.
Oh, no, I'm thinking about everybody get up. It's time
I Believe I Can Fly. Isn't that from Space Jam?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's the only thing I remember.
I'm looking forward to seeing Bugs Bunny back. That's all I really care about.
So you buying it?
I'm buying it. I think, it's like, I guess I'll buy it.
Ashley?
Is LeBron confirmed is what I want to know.
I think
it's heavily rumored. I think so.
They're really missing an opportunity here with Kobe just, leaving the court.
He's not as likable, though.
Yeah.
As far as I'm telling you, for Laker fans, they love him. But as far overall,
and he doesn't have the kind of
marketability
that LeBron
that's the problem.
has.
It's because of his past.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to put him in a kid's film.
Yeah, there's some stuff that you can't really, unless you want to bring
break
the
out
stuff
of your
up,
Lakers
It's
bubble.
Like,
Okay, I'm going to try.
You're in a Lakers bubble. The sidebar already left to be in Space Jam. That's why he's gone. He's starring in it.
Yeah.
So him and LeBron James and sidebar.
Yeah. Space Jam 2: The Return of the Sidebar.
Yeah. The drunken sidebar shambled off, and he's currently on set with Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig.
Shit racks, the sidebar.
All right. Sterling Jones writes, has there been a topic you haven't discussed on Movie Talk because it's too controversial?
I don't know if there's been one that's too controversial. I think we've kind of covered it all and kind of gone after it if it's out there.
Yeah, and even some that I don't find that controversial, people go nuts over.
Yeah, people, people love to trash talk. And
I mean, think about how angry people get about Batman v Superman.
Is she with you?
That has no political, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know.
Like nothing about politics whatsoever, and people go nuts over.
Yeah, they say,
Stop talking about Batman v Superman. How you didn't like it?
Yeah, like so. Yeah, controversial to the audience is a relative term.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Isaiah Stodala writes, what movies do you think will become classic decades from now?
What movie decades that have come out?
This is what modern movies?
well, modern movies, definitely Civil War.
Let's see. Classics. I mean, shoot, I have to think about that. Let's put together a list.
Classics, man.
Did you say Whiplash? Did you say Whiplash is a classic? Whiplash?
No.
No.
Like, to me, I guess, I mean, it's a really great film, but I mean, it's like, when you say classics, it feels like it's got to be a little bit bigger.
Everyone
I think,
knows it.
I mean, definitely The Revenant will become something that people are like, hey.
The Revenant will be?
I do think, yeah. The next 20 years, people are going to look back at like this year in particular and call some films out.
People are saying in the chat room, someone says Birdman, someone says Inception, which I love that one. Fury Road.
I mean, for me, Birdman would be one.
Yeah.
Fury Road
Fury
would be
Road,
one.
definitely.
But I mean, it's another relative term where some people think certain movies are classics.
Yeah.
And
Well, they also fall into genres. Like, I think Revenant will fall into, just like The Hateful Eight will fall into the Western genre and stop being like, oh, did you see this movie? And then it becomes a category.
Yeah.
So
Personally, for me, is Wolf of Wall Street, but I know not everybody. It's in my top.
That's already a classic.
Yeah, I love that movie. Okay, what's next?
Stutterfly Oh My writes, what happened with the new horror show that was announced?
we're still working on it. I don't know if you guys noticed, we're pretty busy here.
Yeah.
It's still in progress. We have other things that we want to do. We just are inundated with a ton of stuff that we have to do.
Look, there's good news is that we have a lot going on right now. There's a lot of new segments. The staple shows are doing really well, and we debuted a bunch of new shows. TV Talk doing really well. The Schmodown doing really good. So it's just like Dennis said. Once we are able to do more and get more out there and get more help and stuff too, then
we don't run ourselves ragged into the ground, which we already
and
are.
we can continue to give you your free entertainment that you see every day for free on YouTube.
All right, what's next?
Allie writes, hi, fellow sweaties. What Disney ride that hasn't already had a movie adaptation would you like to see be made into a movie?
Space Mountain. Let's do
Definitely.
Space Mountain.
Well, they kind of changed it to Star Wars Hyperspace Mountain.
Yeah,
But I wanna
but
see
you
Space
could still do it.
Mountain.
It's
Yeah.
old school. You can still make it.
It'd
Yeah,
be great.
What do you think, Dennis?
Oh, I don't know. Didn't they already make a movie of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? That was
No,
like-
they didn't. Actually.
I think that's just a song or a band. I'm pretty sure.
How about the churro?
there's
They have a good churro there. How about a movie about the dancing churro?
Or just the churro turns into a giant creature like a weird
The
worm.
$10
you know?
churro. That's the next one.
Yeah.
It's the
Can't-
sequel to.
Can't wait to see that movie.
Sausage Party.
Whole bunch of kids.
Wendy says Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's already happening
That's
though
already
with The Rock.
happening,
Oh, it
That's
is?
been announced.
Oh, there you go.
Is The Rock in every movie? I think
He's
he's in every
everything.
movie.
He
Like,
is.
I was gonna say, why is he in Jungle Cruise? He should be in Space Mountain.
every movie that gets announced from now on, they should just throw The Rock's name
Automatic.
in the press
He's
release.
automatically in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
I would love, guys, a horror movie. I've talked about this on the show before that starts off in the teacups. Like the park shuts down, and then they all stop, and then there's only a few people in the park. Though.
Now, what's the theme song? I'm a little teacup, short and so this slows
I don't
down.
think that they- oh, yeah, and they-
The weird teacup guy comes out with like
This
scissors.
is great.
Yeah,
This is so great.
All right, what you got?
I'm a teacup, baby.
Tyler Euclid writes, what usually goes on at film festivals?
I'll let Dennis and Schnepp answer this.
Well, at film festivals, people come up to different producers and pitch them. I got a horror movie about this living teacup. You get a lot of pitches. Film festivals, there's a ton of people. You all get to see advanced screenings of films that either have not gotten a release date yet or are being released like 6 months to a year out. So that's the greatest thing about when you go to film festivals. You get to see films really early or premieres of films. So for
What
that.
was the question?
the question was, what normally happens at film festivals?
A lot of people getting drunk and hanging out. No, a lot. Yeah.
No,
people-
yes,
That's
yes,
true.
that's true.
I mean, it depends what you're going for. I mean,
Right.
there's people who are going there to show off their movies and try to get distribution. They're trying to meet producers. There's other directors that may not even have movies in the film festival. They're also doing the same thing, trying to make connections. And then you have the diehard film fans and the press going there to just check out movies and see what the big hit is going to be that they get. A lot of those movies, like something like a Whiplash or whatever, was seen many months beforehand, and there's a lot of people that knew that it was going to be a good movie, and then maybe got some Oscar consideration. So that's mostly what happened.
Yeah, you get bought for distribution for sure. All right, what is next? Let's do 3 more.
Okay, Freshness 1216 writes, what is the best sequel of all time?
Oh, I gotta go. Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back.
I gotta go.
Yeah,
Empire.
that's how I'm going with. That's my favorite
We're
sequel.
gonna have to do 4 more. All right, what do you say? Sequel, best sequel of all time? Godfather 2.
Ooh, Godfather 2 is probably up there. I mean, Terminator 2, I mentioned it before. It's one of the best action movies, in my opinion. What other sequels?
Well, Empire, obviously.
Yeah, Empire. But Empire, it doesn't feel like a sequel like the way Terminator does, where it's like, it's just the middle part of a trilogy.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's because the third one was so bad in Terminator. Okay, what's next?
Dillon Davidson writes, what is the best way to break out as a writer, whether it's movies, comics, etc.? How do you get your name on stories out there?
I would say just keep writing. I mean, you'll always hear people say perseverance, persistence, but that's the truth. I mean, if you don't write anything, you can't show anybody anything. People are like, send me a script. If you don't have a script to back up when you say, oh, I'm a writer, then you're not a writer. I mean, you just have to write. That's the best I could give.
And not only that, you have to have, because if you, let's say, meet the right person, right, the producer that likes your stuff and reads it and likes it, if maybe that project's not for them, the first thing they're going to ask you is, do you have anything else?
Yes.
Right. So you got to have 5 other things written. So you can't have one script that you're trying to pitch.
Yeah.
You have to have like 5 or 6. So one person's like, oh, well, I'm not really into that. Or we already have a project similar to that. Let's move on. Do you have anything in this genre?
Can I add to that? Also, somebody recently at a convention came up to me and said, I'm a writer and I want to get into something. And I said, well, what's the genre that you write in? What do you write in? I write everything. And I was like, all right, well, that's your first problem. You can't write everything because, I want somebody who specializes in something. And if it's not what I want, I could always recommend you, you write, young adult fiction, then you should go to this place. Because there's, in every single job category, there are then categories within those job categories. So if you're a TV writer for sitcoms, and what kind of sitcoms? Are they single camera or 3 camera? Are they the family, nuclear family? You just have to be specific when you're saying you're a writer. If you're just like, I write science fiction, I write comedy, I love everything, then you're not going to succeed. I'm just to be honest with you.
Focus.
You're unfocused. When I say you're not going to succeed, I'm saying it's going to be a lot harder for you to get to where you're trying to go. So focus into a specific genre. If you're a science fiction writer, write science fiction movies and spec scripts for science fiction shows that are on right now. So that's the way to go.
All right, actually, 2 more, actually.
All right, Juan Obi John writes, anyone interested in a Bachelor Party remake? If so, who would play the lead?
Yes, absolutely.
Totally.
That'd be.
Play the lead,
I guess it's would be similar to Hangover, though.
Right.
You'd be like, but Bachelor Party, if you're not familiar with it, is the 1982 or
Right,
84?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And there's some crazy stuff
It's
going
amazing.
on. Like,
Get his son, Colin Hanks, to do it.
That's not a bad idea.
He's a little too old.
Yeah,
now.
I guess he is.
'cause Tom
He
Hanks
looks young, though.
He does, but Tom Hanks was super young. But that movie was crazy. I think it was rated R.
Yes, it
also,
was.
And like, cocaine donkeys and whatever else is
Yeah,
going
there's
on.
madness going on. See Bachelor
Scott
Party.
Mance was in that movie.
Scott Mance was in it.
It's crazy.
It is a crazy movie. But I think that it should be remade today. Go the hard R, and maybe you could definitely find comedic actors. You should take a lot. Who I'd actually like to see in a movie is Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live. He's that young kid who he's like 22, 23, but every time he's on, he's always talking about how he's stoned out of his mind on every Saturday Night Live. But he is really funny, and I think one of the guys that hasn't really broke out yet. But I think that he and Beck Bennett and other guys from Saturday Night Live could probably do it.
Yeah, and I would get Joshy Fatum. What's up?
I know Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. All right, what's next?
Jersey writes, how do talk show hosts like Jimmy Kimmel get to see early screenings? Are they press ones like you guys go to?
Better than ours.
Well, way better than ours. They probably get it months before.
Actually, guys, I saw Conan O'Brien at the Star Wars screening, this last one.
Oh, really?
You
I
mean
did.
The screening of it?
Yeah.
You probably want to see
It
it in
was
the
the
theater,
coolest
but
thing.
like if they know they're going to have a guest on, and the publicists want Jimmy to promote it, they're going to send it to him.
Yeah.
screen it in his house probably.
Right.
All right,
This giant home theater.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, you really
Okay.
put it- yeah,
Kyle Anderson writes, "Are you excited or weary of what could be the next generation of 3D?"
I still think that it's going to be virtual reality is
Yeah.
going to be the next thing. So no,
Well, you
I'm
know
actually
what?
excited for
they,
that.
They were talking about, Ready Player One, and that's like a VR movie. And now you're looking at Virtuosity and these other sites that are showing you the next level of games that we're going to be playing, which are technically Ready Player One right now. So we're not even that far away from that kind of future where we're going to be fully immersed in playing games. How are those going to affect films? Well, we're going to have to be fully immersed in those films. I think the VR world and being able to run a 2-hour game individually for all of us will be different. I know Jackson over in New Zealand is working on VR games right now with like tons of variations. He's got really young writers working on stuff, like super heavy, awesome, crazy stuff is happening right now. So we're not that far away from a VR movie that we can actually experience.
Dennis?
I mean, if we're talking about just instead of VR, like 3D movies, I think the only way they really will take off, because they never took off at home especially, is that it has to exist without the glasses. You have to be able to just sit down in the theater and then the 3D is there. I don't know how technologically they're going to do that, but that's the only way.
It's called acid, Dennis.
Yeah, okay.
That's what you're talking about. You need the goggles.
All right, that's the show for today. I would like to thank the panel joining me on today's Movie Talk. First, Dennis Tzeng, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.Tzeng.
The sweaty master himself, John Schnepp, where can they find you?
You find me not using the goggles on Twitter and on Instagram, just @John Schnepp.
Low angle, high angle, it's Ashley Mova. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and on Instagram @AshleyMova. Happy Monday, guys.
And if you haven't already watched this past Friday's Schmodown, the title match, first title match, it went down between Riley and JTE. And speaking of title matches, myself and Mark Ellis finally get in there as we do the finals from the 2015 team tournament, going for the team titles against Finstock. You know that guy,
Yeah.
Schnepp. And as well as JTE. So go and check that out. It'll be this Friday. Please follow me.
How do you feel about going against Jim Sock and JBX? Or you feel like good about that?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I mean, look, Finstock is the luckiest person on the planet, so you never want to count him out.
No, you don't want to count him out. He's got that crazy luck.
Yes, and JTE actually knows a lot.
What's his name? JMX? What is it?
Yeah,
I just can't get it. JTL?
Jete
All right.
is what we call him. But you never know with that guy. They're going to be hard. I mean, they beat some good people to get there. They really did. So I don't want to just crap on him because
No,
it's fun to.
Jim Sock's got it coming, man.
They both do, but I think Mark and we work together pretty well. I think we're going to take it pretty easy. Okay, so you can watch that and follow me at Kristian Harloff, Twitter and Instagram. Follow every show happening here on Collider Video and make sure that you tune in tomorrow.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.